Hello and welcome to my solo board gaming channel. My name is Shuffles, and today we're going to take a look at Too Many Bones Undertow. In this video, I'll talk about what this game is, and I'll show you how to set it up and play it solo. Let's jump in. Okay, what is Too Many Bones Undertow? This is a standalone expansion for the original Too Many Bones. It's designed by Adam Carlson and Josh Carlson and published by Chip Theory Games. You do not need the original Too Many Bones. This has everything you need to get started at 1 or 2 players right out of the box. And this is a dice chucking RPG adventure game. We're going to be throwing tons of dice. We've got attack dice and defense dice we'll use in combat. Once we get our hands on them, we've got all these awesome skill dice for our character. We'll be upgrading those along the way. We've got status dice that'll be placed on us by enemies, or we'll place them on enemies. We've got dice for a little mini game for unlocking loot. So dice, dice, dice. We're going to be throwing all of the dice. This is also an RPG. So in typical RPG fashion, we're going to be selecting a character. There's 2 characters out of the box. We have Stanza, and then today we're going to be playing as Duster. So Duster's going to start with some basic stats: health, attack, dexterity, and defense. And then Duster has this big skills area, 16 slots, and that's where these dice will come into play. We'll be adding lots of skills along the way. We're also going to be making choices. We'll be fighting baddies on this battle map. We'll be gaining new skills, some loot, and experience points. If we're able to get enough experience points within the time limit, we'll face a Tyrant at the end of the game, and if we defeat the Tyrant, we win the game. So how do we set this game up for a 1-player game? I do have most of the game set up already, but I am going to walk you through the process. So the first thing you'll want to grab is the battle mat. This is 2-sided. Got the raft battles and the battles on land. So it doesn't matter what side you place this on, just put it somewhere central, as we'll be using it throughout the game. You want it within easy reach. Next, you're going to grab these 4 chips. These are the lane marker chips. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put these near the battle map. Then we'll want the corresponding initiative dice. So there's 4 dice here. These colors match the lane marker chips. So we'll set them near the battle mat as well. And then the last thing we'll want over here is the round tracker. So this is a little black dice. It's got R1 through R5. That's for tracking the rounds of battle. So all this stuff should go somewhere near the battle mat. You can actually lay this game out however you'd like, whatever's convenient for you. This is what works for me. Near the battle mat, you're going to want to have health chips. Just a quick note on these. These are not the chips that come with Too Many Bones Undertow. These are actually upgraded chips for Hoplomachus Victorum, but they work just as well for Too Many Bones. They're weighted and they feel nice. But yeah, you'll want to put your health chips somewhere near the battle mat. We'll be using them to add health to enemies as they come in. And then we're going to skip baddies for just a minute. We'll want to pick our Tyrant for the game. So probably the easiest Tyrant, and the one recommended you start with, is Barnacle. So we're going to take Barnacle's card from the Tyrant deck. We'll set this aside. Barnacle also has a Baddie chip. We'll set that aside as well. And then specific to Barnacle, he's got 8 tentacle chips. For a solo game, we're only going to need 4. So I've got tentacles 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll stack these up, place them off to the side. The last thing for Barnacle for now is going to be his Tyrant dice. It's got a little squid on a few sides and a heart on a few sides. We won't need that anytime soon, so we'll just set it over here by Barnacle's card. Now that we've selected our Tyrant, it's going to tell us some info about what this game is going to be. So on the right side of the Tyrant card, that number 5 there tells us how much experience we need to gain before we can face Barnacle in battle. It also gives us our day limit, which is going to be 8. Those numbers will come into play in a minute. At the bottom left, this will show you the types of baddies you'll be facing in the game. There's 3 different baddie types, or main baddie types, in Too Many Bones Undertow. Barnacle uses all 3, so we don't need to remove anything. And that means we're okay to go ahead and set up our baddie chip piles. So I've already got these set up over here on the side. These 3-point water enemies, the Krelm. We'll just want to give these a shuffle and set them somewhere near the battle mat. There's also a different 3-point baddie type, the mechs. So we'll give these a quick shuffle and set them aside as well. The 5-point baddies can all be shuffled together and placed to the side, along with the 1-point baddies. This may look like I've ordered it in a weird fashion, but it's kind of shortest to tallest, so I don't knock the stacks over as I'm reaching. And then I've got the 20-point baddies. I don't think we'll even see one of these in a solo game, and I'll get to why here in a little bit, but these are off to the side as well. And then last thing is the wreckage chips and obstacle chips. These are 2-sided. Just a little pile of 4. We'll put them near the battle mat. They'll be used in battle. And the last thing on kind of this half of the table I've got is the day counter. So we've got a card here, and we've got this little day counter chip with numbers 1 through 15 on one side. You flip it over and it goes, I guess, 16 through 30. We won't use that side in this game. But we're just going to want to place it so the 1 lines up with this little notch here that's going to mark what day it is on our journey. We have 8 days to defeat Barnacle. We'll place this off to the side. All right. I'm going to skip the Gearloc for just a minute. If you have a dice tower or a dice tray, you'll want to set up your dice near it. So we've got our pool of defense dice here, pool of attack dice. And I've got the status dice up here. Also have a D6 you'll use for various things throughout the game, so keep that handy. We've got our Trove Loot dice, these 4 dice here. I just like to set those up separate from everything else and put them by the Trove Loot. We won't use those very often. Then I've got our Trove Loot cards here and our regular loot cards here. Okay, now we can talk about our Gearloc that we've chosen. So we've gone with Duster. So we need her Gearloc mat. This is where all of her dice will go. This is her little prep area here, and she has her Gearloc chip. So this thing is 2-sided. It's very hard to see, but one side has a ring of stars around it. That means Duster's been upgraded. We'll get a chance to do that during the game, but for now, we're going to put the stars face down to show that she's not been upgraded yet. Duster starts with 3 health, so we can go ahead and give her her health chips. There's 3 health. The other thing we'll need for Duster to start with is her initiative dice. We'll just put that on her Gearloc chip. We're going to roll this during the game to see what order we'll be in when we do battles. Duster also needs the rest of her dice. So she has her initiative dice. There's 20 more dice in this little tray here. She's got these 4, just have numbers on them. We'll be using those to add to her base stats when we upgrade. The rest of them are the corresponding skills that go to this grid here. There's 16 slots, there's 16 dice. Duster starts with her Wolf Companion, Nightshade. That's dice number 13 here. We'll go ahead and slot this in. This is essentially Nightshade's initiative dice. So if Nightshade comes into battle at the beginning, we'll roll this dice and see what turn order Nightshade will be in. You can also grab Nightshade's chip. Nightshade's little wolf companion for Duster will be helping Duster in battle along the way. So we'll give Nightshade 2 health as well. Okay. The next thing we'll want for Duster, we'll want this nearby. That is her Gearloc reference sheet. So each Gearloc has one of these, and you'll be looking at it throughout the game, especially if you're unfamiliar. you'll want to kind of read through this. So this goes through all of Duster's skill dice. It shows what's on every single face of the dice. They're all different. So you can see what the faces are, and then you can go over here to the icon key and kind of decipher what each face means. On the back here, this will talk about some Duster details. It'll give you a strategy to start out, some dice to consider early on. Talks about her backup plan, which we'll get to in a little bit. The other sheet you'll want nearby is the Gearloc Adventuring Reference Guide. So this is going to go over how do we lockpick this trove loot? What can we do in between battles? What's our recovery strategy? We have a few options there. How can we spend our training points? All this is covered on the Gearloc Referencing Guide, and this is pretty handy. The side you'll use more often is actually the Baddie skills side. So anytime a Baddie has an effect, you can look down this list and find out what it means. So if we flip over this 5-point Baddie, he's got Weaken 2. So we just check this list, see what Weaken 2 does. It's right here at the bottom. So we place a Weaken effect die on the target, and our dexterity is reduced by that number on our next turn. So you'll want both of these sheets nearby. All right. The last bit of setup is going to be setting up our adventure deck. So we're going to want to find, since it's a solo game, there are solo specific encounters. It'll tell you at the bottom, this says Undertow, solo, and then a number. I think there's 12 cards. We'll need a certain number of these based on our Tyrant. So Barnacle, we have 8 days to defeat him. We're going to take that number 8 and subtract 2. And that will tell us how many of these basic solo encounter cards we need. We need 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. We'll also need Barnacle's encounter cards. So if you go to the Tyrant encounter deck, you need to pull out the Barnacle. It says at the bottom, Undertow, Barnacle, 1 of 2, and 2 of 2. We'll need both of those. And then we'll need to shuffle this deck together. So we should have 8 cards. Give it a shuffle. And then the last thing you'll need are these special encounter day 1 and day 2 cards. So you're just going to pick one for day 1, pick one for day 2. Those go on top, and you're ready to start your adventure. Okay, so how do we play this game? The gameplay loop is actually very simple, and it's entirely covered on the Adventuring Reference Guide. So I'm going to go over this bit fairly quickly. If you keep the guide handy, you're going to be fine. And I'm going to save the rest of the time for the video to cover combat, which is not too complex, but there's a lot more going on. This is very straightforward, though, the general gameplay loop. So if you look at the reference guide, the adventure routine, the first thing we're going to do is adjust our day counter. We're on day 1. We haven't done day 1 yet, so this will stay put. But normally you would turn to the next day to start. Then you're going to draw a new encounter. So we go to our encounter deck that we created. We're going to draw the card off the top. You can read it. It's going to give you some context about the story and what the encounter actually is. Then you're going to flip it over and resolve it. So oftentimes you're going to be presented with a choice. Maybe for day 1, you're choosing between looking for loot or spending some more time training, something like that. So you'll make your choice, and then for a peaceful encounter like that, you're always going to be successful. So you're going to get the rewards on the card, and then you're going to go into the recovery phase. So for rewards, if you look at the card here, there's 2 choices on this one. If we pick the top choice, we're going to get a training point. If we pick the bottom choice, we're going to get 2 loot. And no matter what our choice is, we always get everything at the bottom if we're successful. So at the bottom, we have 1 experience. And for Barnacle, we need 5 to be able to take him on. So that's the first one. And then we also get a loot, regardless of our choice. So then we move into the recovery phase. The recovery phase is covered in the next section on the guide. So this is where you'll be able to heal or search for better loot. or you can choose to scout the area. So scouting would let you potentially reveal a 1 point or 5 point baddie, maybe a 20 point baddie, depending on what your role is. So you can kind of see what's coming up ahead. You have to choose between that and healing or looking for better loot. You can always trade loot if you're playing with more than one player during the recovery phase. And you can always make a lock picking attempt. If you have any trove loot, you can play the little mini game and try to unlock it. Below that, it's going to tell you what to do with training points. So on that encounter card, if we took the first choice, we'd actually get a training point. That's going to let us upgrade our character. So we could add a point to health or dexterity. It'll tell you for attack, you're going to have to be successful to add to attack. So to do that, you would roll all of your current attack. Duster has 2 right now. We'd roll 2 dice. And as long as we don't get a bones, which we didn't on that roll, bones look like this. As long as we don't get a bones, then we're able to train a point in attack. So we'd add a dice. I can grab it. There we go. And we put 1 in attack. That's what you can do with training points, upgrade your base stats, or you can train any of these skills. So looking at Duster, anything with a star on her mat, we can go ahead and train. Anything that doesn't have a star is going to need a prerequisite. So if we wanted to train Duster's dagger, for example, it's got a star. We could go ahead and train it with that training point. If we wanted throwing knives, we're going to have to wait. We'll need to get Duster's dagger first before we can train throwing knives. All right, so for training points, same thing for defense. Defense works similarly to attack. Duster's got 1 defense. We're going to roll and see if we could upgrade that. We actually got a bones. Now with attack, if we'd rolled a bones, that's it. We can't put that training point there. With defense, we get a second attempt. And we didn't roll bones that time, so we would have been able to upgrade defense. So that's the general loop. After the recovery phase, we're going to go into a new day. We'll adjust our day counter and do it again. So the rest of the video is going to be about combat. So let's talk combat. So I've gone ahead and advanced the game quite a bit. We're pretending this is day 7 now. And I've upgraded Duster with all kinds of stuff. All of her stats are upgraded a little bit. She's got a few skills now. And she's got some more health. We're on day 7. And this is our event card. So we have a couple of options here. This is going to be a raft battle. So we need to flip the mat over. If you look at the encounters for battles, it'll tell you at the top left of each option, there's a little water symbol here. Try to find one that has, here's the difference. This is very hard to see, but this is like a little, I don't know, trees or a mountain or something. It's really hard to tell. Very small symbols. But this green symbol means we'd be fighting on this side. Since we've chosen this card, this is the water side. So we're going to flip the battle mat over to the raft. And we've got 2 options. So I want to talk about the Baddie queue and how that is set up. So for calculating a Baddie queue, we're going to look at the day counter, which is set to 7, and the number of Gearlocs we're playing with, which is just 1. So normally it would just be days times Gearlocs. In our case, it's just going to be days since it's just times 1. So the Baddie queue is 7, so 7 points. Normally, without anything here, that would be a 5-point baddie and 2 1-point baddies to make 7 points. The biggest enemy, or the highest point baddie, goes on top. So that's a normal baddie queue, 5-1-1 for day 7. But then we look at our options, and this one says baddie points including 2 Kreln. Those are these blue 3-point baddies. So if we're including them, that's going to count towards that 7 points. So our new baddie queue would look like this. We'd have 2 of these, that's 6 points, and a 1-point baddie. So that is our 7 points. Kreln always go on top. We were playing on the other side, and it said including mechs. Mechs always go on the bottom. So it would look like this instead. So Kreln, and a 1-point baddie. That's what it would look like for the top option. Now, if it says include here, if it said add, then we would do our original 5 point, 1 point, 1 point, and then those 2 crown would go on top. But this one is include. So here's our Baddie queue. Now, if we choose option B, this would be Baddie points and then add 3 1-point baddies. So it does say add here. So if we went with the other option, it would be, we have our 5 1 1, and then we're adding 3 1-point baddies, and those will go on the bottom. So our Baddie queue would look like this. All right, so we're going to go with option A here with 2 crown. So we've got, that's our 7 points there, 3 3 1. All right, so now we can go ahead and set up the battle. So for crown enemies or for mechs on the other side, we're going to roll this D6 to see where they come into the battle map. So roll a 2. So the first enemy, this is a crown skitfish. Okay, so the crown skitfish, it has 5 health. We're going to give it 5 health. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's going to get the first lane marker. We rolled a 2, so it's going to spawn over here on this number 2 on the side. The crown always spawn in the water. So now our second one comes out. I'm going to roll a dice again. And it's a 3. So this is the second baddie onto the mat. He's got 4 health. We rolled a 3, so he'll go right here. If we'd rolled a 2, it would just go up to the next number, so it'd be 3 anyway. So we've got 2 baddies on the mat. We are limited to placing 4 baddies on the mat at once, but our queue is only 3, so everyone will come out at once. So our last enemy has 2 health. He's going to be in lane 3, which is yellow, and he is a melee baddie. So he'll go right here in this yellow melee spot. If he was a ranged enemy, he would come down here. And we're not using the 4th chip because we only have 3 baddies. So now our baddie mat is set up. This is going to be round 1. And then we're going to figure out where these baddies are going to be going, or in what turn order they're going to be going. So our first one, blue, the initiative number is 2. So we'll set that at a 2. The highest number goes first. So our purple baddie has initiative 4. That's the green number here. So we'll set this purple dice to a 4. So this one will go before this one. And then our last baddie, the yellow one in lane 3, has another initiative of 2. The tiebreaker is the lane number. So this one will go before this one since they both have initiative 2. All right. So that sets up all the baddies. Now we need to figure out where we're going to put Duster. Duster can spawn on any Gearloc spot in the middle. These are melee and range spots. Duster is melee ranged anyway, so she can always be placed on any one of these spots. And if you look at Duster's innate ability, which is on her reference sheet, her innate is Shadow Dweller. Duster may start on any position on the battle map. So we don't have to limit Duster to the middle of the raft. We could go ahead and place her back here if we wanted to. We can go ahead and attack either one of these enemies. But normally for most Gearlocs, they'll be limited to the Gearloc starting positions. Let's see what turn order Duster's going to be in. We'll roll her dice. She rolled a 4. And for tiebreakers with Gearlocs, we get to choose. So we're going to make Duster go first. Duster, I've got her set at full health, which is currently 5, 3 plus 2. So when she's at full health, Nightshade does not come on the battle map. We need to wait until the end of a round where Duster has already lost some health before Nightshade will join us in battle. Okay, so when we start the battle, we'll move this round down here. This is round 1. Now it's Duster's turn. So Duster has, I've given her 6 dexterity, so she can do quite a lot. Dexterity is how much stuff we can do. We'll use 1 dexterity to move 1 space, 2 dexterity to move 2 spaces. Every space you move is 1 dex, and then every dice you roll is a dex. So she's got up to 3 attack available, up to 2 defense available. So we're going to stay put, and we're going to fight this Baddie with the treasure. So let's roll. We're going to roll a little bit of everything here. She can roll 2 defense dice, 3 attack dice, and we're also going to roll Duster's dagger. So that is 6 dexterity. We didn't move, so we can use all of it. So we roll all of these dice. All right. So we're going to get 3 shields. When we get shields, we move them up here to the active slots. So that way when Duster's attacked, we've got the shields to block the first incoming 3 damage. We've also done 3 damage in attack to this Baddie. So we'll take off 3 health. And then Duster's dagger here did 1 more damage, that 1 there. And it applies the bleed effect. That's what that symbol is. All the symbols will be on the Gearloc, or I'm sorry, the Baddie reference guide and on Duster's guide here. So, all right, so Duster's dagger is up here. We look over here. This is draw blood. So it'll deal that 1 damage to the target, and we're going to place a bleed effect die on target. If you want to know what bleed is, that's on this guide. So bleed, unit takes 1 true damage at the start of its turn. So true damage means it ignores shields. So we'll go ahead and place the bleed on this enemy. So on this enemy's turn, it's going to bleed out. It's only got 1 health left. And then when Duster uses a skill dice like the dagger, it is exhausted for the rest of this battle. So we'll place it over to the side. We can't use it on any of the other enemies. All right, that is it for Duster's turn. Although I think we rolled... Did we not roll a... I think we rolled a bones. I guess I put it away. So we rolled 1 bones. So that's the last thing I wanted to talk about is when you roll bones, it's like rolling a miss, but you can slot it up here in the backup plan. So if we look at Duster's guide again, it's going to tell us what we can do with these bones. So you basically store them up during battle, and then you can use them for special abilities. So for 1 bone, we could use Pack Mentality. So if Nightshade was on the board, we could move Duster or Nightshade to a position that's adjacent to the other one. So if Nightshade was somewhere out here, we could put Nightshade right next to Duster for 1 bone. She's got 3 more abilities, and then if we get 6 bones, that's how we upgrade her to the side with the stars, and that gets her to her Innate +1. So we talked about her Innate Shadow Dweller, where she can start on any position. Innate +1 lets us do the same thing, except now we're also placing an untargetable effect die on Duster. So she can spawn kind of behind enemy lines and then not be attacked for a round, which is really nice. All right, so that's it for Duster's turn. Now we'll show how the baddies operate. So the first one up is the one with the purple lane marker. That's this one. So if a crone cannot attack anyone, there's no one adjacent here, they're going to move to the next number. So they're on 3. They're going to move over here to 4. They're still not adjacent to Duster, so they're just going to attack the raft and try to destroy it. And that's what these wreckage chips indicate is raft damage. So this one has 2 attack dice, no defense dice. It's going to roll the 2 attack, and it hits. So it will do damage to the raft. We'll go ahead and place a wreckage chip here. If we run out of wreckage chips and need one, the raft sinks and we lose this battle. So we will have to take care of this one soon. That is it for purple's turn. And then this one, this is the blue one. They've got the bleed effect on them, which triggers at the beginning of their turn. They lose their last health and they are killed. So this one drops a treasure dice, which is this dice right here. So if we're able to pick that up, we'll roll it and it'll add either some loot or some healing or a special event to the adventure deck. So we'll want to pick that up. We'll place that here. This baddie is dead. We'll get him off the board. And that's it for blue's turn. So now it's yellow. So yellow has compound. If we check the adventure guide, it'll tell us compound means they're doing, instead of having a set number of attack dice, it is the number of attack dice matching the round number. This is round 1 still, so they'll just be rolling 1 attack dice. They rolled a 2. We have 2 defense, so we're going to block that attack. And then we'll move into round 2. So now Duster still can't bring Nightshade in. We didn't lose any health. So we would just roll dice against this one, or we can move over here and attack this enemy. But that's the general flow of combat. We have basically 5 rounds to kill everyone. If we get to round 6, this little droplet of blood here means that everyone loses 1 health at the start of each round. So in general, you don't want to do that, although it does help us take out the enemies as well. We want to keep our health and try to kill all the baddies before we get to that point. So that's it. You just go in order based on the initiative dice. Each one takes a turn. If they're melee baddies, they can move up to 2 spaces. They'll kind of chase you around the map if you're not next to them. If they're ranged baddies, they won't move at all. And they're always going to move towards the closest Gearloc. So if you're playing 2-handed or if you're playing with someone else, they will take the shortest route to get to one of you and attack. If it's a ranged baddie, it'll tell you who they go after. There's a little symbol here at the bottom. That symbol is for the weakest enemy, and that's just based on health. So whichever Gearloc has the lowest health, that's the one they'll attack if they have a choice. Some enemies will attack multiple Gearlocs. Some of them will go for the strongest, and so on. One more thing I wanted to mention about combat. Had we chosen the alternative option where we have a baddie queue, it was 5, 1, 1, and then we were adding 3 baddies to that, we'd have more than 4 baddies in the queue. So we'd put the first 4 out, and then at the end of each round, start of the next round, new baddies will take the place of the old ones. Any new baddies coming in, unless they're a 20-pointer or the Tyrant, they're always going to come in at the bottom of the battle queue. You can ignore the initiative number, little green number on the chips. Their dice will just move to the bottom. All right, I am going to play this game out. This day was just a random day 7. We're going to reset all of our stats. We'll start the game from day 1. Okay, so that is how to play Too Many Bones Undertow solo. Thank you so much for watching. Over my next 2 or 3 videos, I will be playing this out. So if you'd like to see Duster take on Barnacle, be sure to check those videos out. That is going to do it for this video. I have been Shuffles. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.